to the New Testament and deal with the words of the Master. The words of the Master. And this week, we're going to talk about the place where they tried to kill him. They tried to kill him. We're going to look at John 10, verses 22 through 39. John 10, verses 22 through 39. So we'll just go ahead and we'll just read all the way through, and then we'll talk about all the things we see inside here.
Okay, John chapter 10, verse 22. At that time, the Hanukkah came to be at Jerusalem, and it was winter. And Yeshua was walking in the set-apart place in the porch of Shlomo. So the Yehudim surrounded him and said to him, "How long do you keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, say to us plainly." Yeshua answered them, "I have told you, and you do not believe. The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness concerning me. But you do not believe, because you are not of my sheep, and I said to you, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I also give them everlasting life, and they shall by no means ever perish, and no one shall snatch them out of my hand. My Father, who has given them to me, is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and my Father are one." Again, the Yehudim picked up stones to stone him. Now Yeshua answered them, excuse me, "Many good works I have shown you from my Father, because of which these works do you stone me." And Yehudim answered him, saying, "We do not stone you for a good work, but for blasphemy, and because you, being a man, make yourself Elohim." Yeshua answered them, Is it not written in your own Torah, I said, you are Elohim? If he called them Elohim, to whom the word Elohim came, is it impossible for the scriptures to be broken? Do you say of him whom the Father set apart and sent into the world, you are blaspheming, because I said, I am the son of Elohim? If I do not do the works of my Father, do not believe me. But if I do, though you do not believe me, believe the works, so that you know and believe that the Father is in me and I in him. Therefore, they are seeking again to seize him, but he went forth out of their hands.
Okay. Very good. All right, so let's go back up and look at a few things. We want to take notice of a few things. If we look over here at verse 22, where it begins, where it says, "And at that time, the Hanukkah came to be in Jerusalem, and it was winter." It was Hanukkah. It was the feast of dedication. And not only was it the feast of dedication, it was winter. It's almost as if we have this portion of the telling here, again, kind of setting the atmosphere for what's going on. I want to just say that, Yeshua didn't just so happen to be in Jerusalem just for no reason. It was Hanukkah time. He didn't dwell in Jerusalem. And it was winter. So winter, for us, winter looks like this. It's snowy, it's cold. For them, it's kind of cool and rainy. So all the time we're getting snow, they're getting kind of cool rain. It's not like a summer rain where it's like refreshing. It's like a cold rain. The weather in that area probably would have been, kind of in the daytime, mid to low 50s and rainy in the winter. It's the rainy season. In the nighttime, they could potentially get down into the 30s and maybe see some frost.
Well, right now, we at 20-something degrees in Tel Aviv right now. Their high today is 66, and their low today is 54 degrees.
Yeah. And so it's not warm. It's not freezing like how we're freezing, but they have various elevation situations over there where it could get into the 30s at night. And so they wasn't dealing with, lodging. Like how, we might have to go out in the cold. We can come in to a nice climate controlled building. We have our waterproof shoes and all of these things. And so I'm saying that they didn't have to deal with snow, but they got to deal with who wants to travel in the rain. When you think about put the map up. When you think about where Galilee is, where Yeshua,
The station.
is where it was from.
Headquarters.
His headquarters, Capernaum. But Galilee in general is kind of where he was. And so, you able to find it? It should be right there if you just go on the screen right there. There it goes. Yeah, put it on the other screen too. So you can see up there where Capernaum is. The last time we talked about where he was. Yeah, see right there in Capernaum. You can see up there, that's Galilee. And so where he dwelled, where his headquarters is, you always got to go through Samaria in order to get to Jerusalem. And so again, he's not dealing with a winter like we would be dealing with, but it's not perfect situations for traveling. And so if he's going to be down there, he's down there for a reason. But it tells us what the reason is. It's Feast of Dedication. They observed the Feast of Dedication. It's right here. And so he's there. That's why he's in Jerusalem. And it's winter. That's why he's hanging out over here in this indoors, in this porch of Solomon. It's interesting, the porch of Solomon. Solomon's temple was destroyed. But this actual part of it wasn't destroyed, and it was actually also renovated by Herod, the porch of Solomon. And so it was a part of the original temple that wasn't destroyed. And so when the second temple came, they kind of venerated this place, and it was renovated. And so they made it nice. And when you had temple gatherings and people coming together, this is the outer court. When people come together in gatherings and teachings and things, this is where they were, out of the elements, in a covered situation, again in the winter. And so, again, he's not going to just be going down here into Jerusalem just willy-nilly. He's here specifically at a specific time, kind of with the rest of the nation, commemorating and celebrating, Israel's turn from what you call it. No, I'm talking about just the idea of cultural hijacking and all these. It's kind of like a return to, the historical purity of the people, where
Like a revival kind of thing.
it's a time of revival. It's a time of rejecting outside cultural norms and embracing inside cultural norms, right? It's a time when they would have been remembering their not so distant ancestors and great victories that they. It's kind of like what we in America, we think about. We have these big things on the 4th of July. It's like we remember our founding fathers, and they have all this stuff, and people have flags out because it's kind of like a national commemoration of these things that got to do with our country and things.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thoughts of that time where the people tried to sit up there and hold Israel down, and we rose up and conquered, right? They had this national feeling at this time. And so, that puts Yeshua there being involved in all of the things. And so when we get down to verse 24, it's interesting that, again, in this place, in this covered place, it says that the Yahudim, they surrounded him. Which is interesting because at this point they're always trying to get him. Right? They're trying to set him up.
Down there.
And he's there. Right? He's there. And they got him surrounded. They got him encircled. Right? It's not, and it's not, it's hostile. It's hostile. The things that they're saying over here is kind of, they're egging him on they want Yeshua to say something so that they could go ahead and just do something to him at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're ready.
Get their daggers.
No, they're not the ones that had daggers, but they got their stones ready. Mm-hmm. They got their stones probably in their pockets, ready to go. But they got him surrounded, and they talked to him. Read verse 24 again for us.
So the Yehudim surrounded him and said to him, "How long do you keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, say to us plainly."
Okay, so it's interesting when we look at various translations of what they're asking him here. Where, how long do you keep us in suspense? The Vulgate, the Latin Vulgate, the Syriac versions, the Persic, the Ethiopic versions, they render this, "How long dost thou take away our soul?" That is, deprive us of the knowledge of thee. Right? If we was to look at Genesis, let's go to Genesis 31 and 20.
Genesis what?
Genesis 31 and 20.
It says, and Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean because he did not inform him that he was about to flee.
Okay, and so the way we look where it's giving us the idea that Jacob is not putting all of the things on the table. He's sneakily moving about. He's trying to move about in secret. This is kind of the idea that they're dealing with when they talk about this idea of how long do you keep us in suspense. It's like they're speaking to him as if he's being deceptive to them. And they want for Yeshua to speak to them plainly. Because they feel as if the way that he's behaving, he's purposefully confusing their minds and being deceitful. Right? And so they want Yeshua, they're saying to him, make it plain. Don't speak to us in this way. Why you dealing with us like this? We always got to sit up here and try to get you to say something. Why can't you just come right out and say whatever it is that you want to say? So we don't got to sit up here and try to decipher and figure out what it is that who you are or what it is you're trying to say.
I mean, they want him to be plain so they can kill him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people will be like, he'd call him a martyr or something,
Yes, but you see, Yeshua, this is how he was. This is kind of like a thing that there's a bit of mystery, I would say, with Yeshua. He was like a sage. He spoke
Parables.
he spoke in parables. Let's go over to Matthew. Let's look at Matthew 13 and 11 through 16. Matthew 13, 11 through 16. Read that for us.
And he answering said to them, because it is given to you to know the secrets of the reign of the heavens, but to them it is not been given. For whoever possesses, to him more shall be given, and he shall have overflowingly. But whoever does not possess, even that what he possesses shall be taken away from him. Because of this I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. And in them the prophecy of Yeshayahu is completely filled, which says, hearing you shall hear, and by no means understand, and seeing you shall see, and by no means perceive. For the heart of this people has become thickened, and their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their heart and turn back, and I heal them. And blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear.
Okay, very good. So Yeshua is speaking to his disciples. At some point, he spoke to these men, and the things that they saw, they was able to hear and believe what he said. And so from then forward, he's able to speak to them in such a way. And so much so to the point where he says to you ones that heard me and believed in me, they didn't see much. It didn't take much for the disciples to become disciples. They seen a couple things that Yeshua did. Yeshua come by. They knew who he was. He said, follow me. They said, okay. They believed. And so they was able to look at him and see something to the point where they was able to believe. So he said, to you, the mysteries of the kingdom are given. But to these other ones who saw the same thing that you saw and don't believe, to them it's not given to them. The ones who do see, they will have abundance. But the ones who don't see, what they got is going to be taken away. And then in verse 13, and therefore, because of that, because of the fact that he could speak these simple things to the one group of people, and they can see and hear and believe, but these other ones who heard the same thing and have a totally different result, to those people, he's just going to not even talk to them plainly on purpose. Because they can't hear, they can't see, they can't understand. And so he can't speak to these people in any other way. He just give them a little bit. But they can't even understand a little bit. But these other ones who accept that little bit, they have the desire. You know, this is a conversation that they're having. They have the desire. Well, you said that one thing. What did that mean? Right. They ask the questions. They really want to know. Not for strife's sake, but to really understand.
I think that's why they can't understand. It's the intention. It's like they don't really want to genuinely understand. They try and like catch them. All these people that approach him trying to catch him. And if you come in that spirit, you ain't, even if he told you still looking for something. You don't want to accept him. You know?
Yeah, when Yeshua talks about to the disciples and talk about drink my blood and eat my flesh, the disciples is like, well, I don't know what that means, but I don't know where else to go. So I'm gonna follow you anyway. Right. That sounds crazy, but I'm gonna still follow you. It's like they're able to look at him and understand that he is someone that should be followed, and they don't need to understand everything. They just they know that he is him. And so these quote unquote learned ones, these people who are surrounding him and coming to him with all of this aggression, surrounding him, and not just standing around him. It's not like they're just all like in the same place and they just happen to be they literally are surrounding him, ready to like do something to him. And basically say something now. Now what you gonna say? We got you in here, you can't even escape. What you gonna say now? Like, talk to us plainly. Don't be sitting up here, saying all of these things that you be saying. Like, just say it. Like.
So I was thinking about just the fact that when we are talking to people, there's people like that with us. Where I remember this. I was talking to someone that was asking me about basically doing your own pleasure on the Sabbath, and I just was talking, and then I don't know why. This is when I was in college. I don't know why he started talking about washing his car on the Sabbath. And then, once he starts talking to me about something I just was like, you know what? Just do what you want to do. I don't have these don't try to ask me, it's a questionnaire. You know what I mean? I don't really want to engage in all this type of conversations. You know, I see how people can be. They can start nitpicking or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Instead
and
of it being just what it is or what it isn't.
it's just a heart condition. Like if I can figure out what is the least amount of things that I could do, I want to do that. If I can figure out if there's a loophole, let me see what that loophole is so I can just be comfortable and do that. If you're doing that, your heart ain't right in the first place. And so that's what these people, we can see that these people heart are right because they didn't believe. Because Yeshua said, I told you already. In verse 25, he said, I told you. Go back to John. I told you already. You're moving my screen for some reason. And you did not believe. So when he says that, when we look over in verse 25, where Yeshua answers them and says, I have told you, he puts them in the category of the ones that the mysteries of the kingdom wasn't given to you. You're the ones who can't see. You're the ones who can't hear because he's going out here and he's doing whatever he's doing, and masses of people are believing and seeing and hearing. And then they, for whatever reason, is they don't see it. It's not even as if he's got like some secret things that he's telling them on the side. Like he does like a mass thing for all of the people. Then they believe. And then maybe they might get some nuggets after the fact. But the nuggets came after they saw what everybody saw. Like there's a thing that a level that he's providing for everyone that's the same. And if you see it and it's for you, you should be able to see it and hear it and believe it. And so he's saying, I told you everything I needed to tell you already, but you can't see and you can't hear. And so you get into that category of those that it's not given to you because he's out here. Here, read again 25 for us because that other part too.
Yeshua answered them, I have told you, and you do not believe. The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness concerning me.
He said the things that I do in my Father's name, those things bear witness concerning me. So when you talk about when you talk about the fact that he's out here healing the sick, casting out devils, cleansing the lepers, who nobody cleansed, by the way. Nobody ever cleansed the lepers. The Most High. If we go back to the Torah, the Most High and time is the only thing that cleansed the lepers. The priests, the police only just seen that they had been cleansed and acknowledges what happens. Nobody cleansed the lepers. So this is miraculous things that's happening. Mm-hmm. He's giving sight to the blind. He's literally speaking to a blind person and physical results is happening. Mm-hmm. People that have never walked. If you break your leg and you put your leg in a cast for however long people be having casts on in there, let's say 6 weeks, a couple months. By that little bit of time, the muscles in your leg are atrophied from not being used. And you got to do some rehab to get yourself back together from not actually using those muscles just for a couple months. Mm-hmm. But he rolling up on people who ain't never walked. Hey man, get up. Pick that thing up and get up and walk. They never used their legs before. You talk about muscle atrophy. That's a miracle that just happened right there. If he said, just get up and walk. Huh?
No physical therapy.
No physical therapy.
It's all built in. Built one blessing wrapped in one. You get it all right
that
there.
physical therapy, casts, whatever, all that. Get up. Matter of fact, not only get up, so he got to carry his own weight plus his bed, however much that weighed, and walk with it. Miracles he's performing. Dead people. Like somebody whose heart ain't beating no more. Ain't no blood. Like if somebody dies, we sit up here and we do CPR on somebody so that you could keep the blood and stuff flowing through your body long enough so that whenever they're able to maybe shock you back to life, you could still live. Like they want, because once your body stops working, it starts to decay immediately.
Mm-hmm. I think they said the brain is like one of the quickest things to start.
It can't be turned off. Mm-hmm. There's no reset. The longer that thing is off, the least amount of time you chances you got to be able to live the same kind of life that you used to live.
It's like the rest of the body could be pumping and working, but then your brain's dead. Like, you know.
But for his homeboy Lazarus, who was dead for 3 days, body started to stink. He said, "Man, come out of there, man. Come on. You still got some more time on this earth."
He actually cried. I found that interesting.
That was his boy. That's why. That was his homeboy. That was his guy. It wasn't just like a random guy who he didn't know. He had a relationship with them guys. He used to hang out over there with the sisters and the brothers. Like those was his peoples. We showed you the map. He stayed up in Capernaum, but when he was down here in Jerusalem, off to the side, like how we was looking at, Mary and Martha, and when he was over at their place, that was where he set up his lodging at over there with them. So there he has a little relationship with these people, and then that's why it was so like such a thing, like he's dead, and you don't act like you don't know who he is or whatever. Like do something, like. And he just kind of takes his time and I won't go into too much into it, but I'm saying like he's doing these miraculous things. He's doing these miraculous things, and these things in and of themselves is enough to say that got to be the Most High. And so regular people is looking at this, and that's the conclusion that they're coming up with. He got to be from the Most High. This is what he's doing. Look over at John 3 and 2.
John 3 verse 2. It says, "This one came to Yeshua by night and said to him, Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher come from Elohim, for no one is able to do these things you do if Elohim is not with them."
Okay, so this Nicodemus person, this Pharisee, who, he's with the Pharisees. He said we. So he was the one who was going and speaking on behalf of all the Pharisees who believed in Yeshua. But the majority of them is like these ones who got him surrounded up here in the porch of Solomon. But there was a small group of them who are saying that we know that you're a teacher because nobody's able to do the stuff that you're doing unless Elohim is with you. But it's not only these physical miracles though. It's not only these physical miracles that these ones who are knowledgeable in the scriptures, these Pharisees, these lawyers in the law and the Torah, it's not only these miracles that are causing them to understand who he is. Because in the Messianic age is led by this Messianic figure who is a great teacher.
We talking about who?
I'm saying the Israel at this time, the ones who know what the scripture says, and they understand the idea of the Messiah. They think about the Messiah also as an age, but leading that time is this Messianic figure. So the Messianic figure involves is in this Messianic age, this time and person they're looking for. I'm talking about the Pharisees. I'm talking about those who know the Torah and the law. They're looking for a great teacher who's going to emerge. And so not only is Yeshua doing all these miracles that are saying that he is the Messiah, but he also is a great teacher. And this is also something that's pointing to the fact that he is the Messiah. Let's look over in Isaiah chapter 2. Isaiah chapter 2, Yeshayahu chapter 2. And let's read 2 and 3.
And it shall be in the latter days that the mountain of the house of Yahweh is established on the top of the mountains, and shall be extolled above the hills, and all nations shall flow to it. And many peoples shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the Elohim of Jacob, and let him teach us his ways, and let us walk in his paths. For out of Zion comes forth the Torah and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem.
Okay, very good. So this is a messianic verse. When we look in Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2, it says, it shall be in the latter days. When we see that, they understood that to be a messianic verse. In the latter days, in this messianic age. And so there's some interesting things that's going on here in this verse. And we're looking at this verse because the Pharisees of this time, they looking at this verse and understanding what the messianic age is going to look like, what's going to happen in it, things that they're looking forward to. So it says that there is this mountain. The house of Yahweh is on the top of this mountain. The mountain is exalted above the hills. It's talking about the mountain. And all nations shall flow to it. What? Flow to it? The mountain? Flow to Yahweh? Is this talking about Yahweh? Is this talking about a mountain? Or a house?
It's a house on a mountain.
It's a house. The house of Yahweh is established on the top of the mountain. It shall be exalted above the hills. We talked about the difference between a mountain and a hill at my house the other day. So it gives you a situation where it's comparing a mountain to a hill. This mountain is above all the hills. There's something that's going on this mountain, a house that's on the top of the mountain, and all the nations flow to it. Let me just say, it's not talking about a mountain, but a person. It's not talking about a house, because houses can't talk or teach or walk. It's a person. But it's comparing the person to this house that's on top of this mountain, and it's a great person because if he was a mountain, he'd be greater than all these hills that's around him. It's above all of the regular hills that are around. It's this great exalted mountain. And then many people shall come and say, let's go up to the mountain of Yahweh and let him teach us. Who? Yahweh? Or the mountain? Or the house that's on the mountain? Or the one that is kind of figuratively speaking about? That's going to teach us his ways. He's going to and let us walk in his paths. For out of Zion comes forth the Torah and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. This is a messianic verse. It's referring to Yeshua. It's talking to him about and comparing him to just the regular hills and saying that he's a mountain. But he's not just a mountain, but he's on top of the mountain, and there's something established with him where it's a house on top of the mountain. It's figurative speech. But they understood this to mean that when the Messiah comes, that Messiah is going to also be a great teacher. And so everything that he did was miraculous, down to the things that he said. And so when we look at, if we go back to John, we look at Yeshua and his response to these people, everything that Yeshua has done to this point is a miracle. We're going to go to the things, the wondrous things that he's doing, or just the words that he's speaking. It's all miraculous. And everything that he's doing points to who he is, and to those who have an ear to hear and eyes to see, they are able to see and believe.
We got a little comment right here.
What does it say?
It says, indeed, the hills and mountains are often referencing leaders in the books of the Nevi'im prophets, trees as well.
Yes, very good. And it's interesting that this one, of course, is exalted above all the other ones. So it's prophetic, right? And it's something that they should have understood. When we think about Nicodemus again, he saw it. He wasn't specific. He said, the things that you do lets me know that you're of Elohim. But he was talking about all of the things. All right, let's go back over and look at, again. So let's read again verse 26 and 27. Back in John 10, 26, 27.
It says, and I give them everlasting life. Oh, my bad. 26.
Yeah.
But you do not believe because you are not of my sheep. And I said to you, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me.
Okay. So, he said what he said. I said what I said already. That's what he really said. He said, the works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness concerning me. If you was able to look at the things that I say and look at the things that I do, all of those things say who I am. Mm-hmm. You people heard the things that I said. You saw the things that I did. I did it all in my Father's name. And yet, you do not believe. Because you're not of my sheep, he said. Which is interesting. He said, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And so it's interesting because when we think about Yeshua walking around and he's saying what he's saying here. He's saying that the people that believed in what he said, those is his sheep. But the people who didn't believe what he said, like these people who surrounded him in this place, they're not his sheep, and that's why they didn't hear what he said. But it's not as if Yeshua had some kind of relationship with these people previously, and then when he goes around, they say, "Oh, it's Yeshua. He's back. He came back for us, and now so let's follow after him." Like they just met him, like they just seen him somewhere. Oh my goodness, he's doing all of these wonderful things. I'm gonna follow him. Even his closest people, they don't really know like exactly how to even think about who he is, but they know they need to follow him. But he said, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." But these ones who didn't believe, they're not his sheep.
Because they didn't follow. That's crazy how this concept is to this day. We talk about it all the time. Subscribers and followers on all these social media platforms. But you can also extend it to politics. People believe in these other people to change this around you. Like, if you ain't putting in the most work to do the change, you really got to be the forefront of the change you want to see. To be like, oh, y'all should do this and point the finger at these people. I'm gonna vote this person in because we still following after the wrong people, subscribing to the wrong people. I just think even back then, he's like, look, my sheep follow me. They hear me, and then they follow.
They're trying to figure out what it is that he's doing. They're trying to figure out how he's saying that we should be living and live like that. Like their whole everything about them is connected to what he's doing, and they're trying to emulate what he's doing. Now, when we look at this now, it's sometimes a hard thing to think about those that are excluded. Those that are excluded, the ones who can't, don't, won't hear and see. Because that's where these ones who surrounded them, that's the category that they're in, at least right now. They can't hear, they can't see, they don't hear, they don't see, they won't hear or see. And Yeshua said, "You're not my sheep." And so, people talk about the fact, well, he only came for the lost sheep. But he just described for you who the lost sheep are. The ones who believe what he said. The ones who believe what he said is who the lost sheep are. It's not about a people group. Those are the same people that he's talking to, the Pharisees and the regular people. It's the same people group. But some heard him and some didn't. They might got the same physical daddy. A brother heard him and his brother didn't hear him. Same family, physical. But one person believed and another person didn't believe. He said the ones who heard me, those is my sheep. The ones who didn't hear me, those ain't my sheep. He was only sent to the people who actually going to believe what he said. The ones that don't believe, he's not sent to them. You're able to know the difference between the two, because when he says what he says, when he does the things that he do, they hear it and then they go and then they believe. When you got another person who's standing right next to the people that heard him and believe, and then they don't believe, he wasn't talking to you. You're not his sheep. That's why you didn't believe what he said.
Yep.
Here, look at the next verse. Read verse 28. This is controversial stuff right here. Read verse 28.
And I give them everlasting life, and they shall by no means ever perish, and no one shall snatch them out of my hand.
If you're his sheep, you'll hear what he said. But if you're his sheep, you have everlasting life, and nobody can snatch you out of his hand. So if you're a sheep, you got everlasting life. But I wonder if you could stop being one of his sheep, though.
You can decide.
Can you decide?
I mean, it's just. It's
He said, my sheep hear my voice, I know them, and they follow me. Sometimes. Don't say that. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me for a little while, and then they don't anymore.
It's the ones that's gonna make it all the way to the end. Let's just say that.
I'm saying that Yeshua is doing something that Yisrael did when he's saying these words right here. He's not looking with the eyes. He's looking in the spirit. So we got an earthly perspective. And I can know John, and I don't mean to say John. I know Ed.
Say John. Say John.
I know Ed. And in my life, Ed, he lived, and for a time, he was the most devout person I ever seen in my life. And then I stopped seeing him for a while. And then the next time I seen him, this guy was just, he was just off the deep end. And he dies. I'm saying that Ed was never a sheep. He just looked like one to me, from my perspective. From my earthly perspective, when I saw Ed, it seemed like he was doing the things. He was living a life. But I only seen a little portion of his life. I didn't see what the whole fullness of his life was.
That's right.
Ed wasn't a sheep. Because his sheep, he said, I give them everlasting life, and they shall by no means ever perish.
That's right.
Because he's looking at I can look at Fred. Fred is just, he just walk around, he just in gross iniquity. This is the most wickedest person I ever seen, Fred. And then I don't see Fred for a while, and then I see Fred again. And Fred is like this. He just like I can't even hardly recognize Fred now because he don't even go by Fred no more. He got a new name.
Fred is dead. Fred is dead.
He don't even go by that no more. He got this Hebrew name. I can't even hardly pronounce.
He
what
be
it
born.
and this is the holiest person I ever seen. But for all the people who only know Fred before he got his new name, they would have thought that he's lost. But Fred is a sheep. But we can only look at him from an earthly perspective.
Yeah.
But Yeshua could see that spiritual perspective
Yeah.
and say who's who.
Yeah.
And so these people, they come up with this thing and they talk about this once saved, always saved thing. And I believe in once saved, always saved. I believe it. But your description of it is wrong. It don't mean that you come and say this thing and once you say there's nothing that you could do could make you lose your salvation. That's not what it means. Because he said, my sheep hear my voice, I know them, and they follow me. What that means is that once you're counted as a sheep, which by the way is before you even are a lamb and grow up to be a sheep, once it's been determined that you're a sheep, you're not going to be anything other than that. The Most High, the thing that He created in you, He's going to finish.
But
I'm saying in the realm of our earthly existence, if we happen to look at somebody who we see fall off, my understanding is that he not falling off. He just never was on to begin with.
If he does.
I'm saying from our perspective.
From human.
Go ahead. What was you going to say?
no, I'm just like the path. It's like a path. It's like when you get to the end, it's like the determination. Because we talking about sheep and shepherds and being led, but it's on a path, and it's like you gotta stay on the path. Because if you veer off the path and you don't make it back before time,
Yep,
the determination.
that's right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just like looking at it in that way, because like you said, it's a guy, Fred, who you had no clue he was on the path. He was a sheep. You see, it was like he a sheep, and you see him, he off in a path
I
that
didn't even know he was a sheep.
if Yeshua wasn't looking out for him when he was off in the path doing whatever, to enough to make it back,
Yeah.
and then the person who's with the flock,
That person.
and then they go off, and then you be like, what happened to them? That's the thing, and that's just a deep concept.
How come the one who was with the flock? How come the shepherd didn't go after him?
He said he was never winning.
I don't. When you look at this, what he's saying, he's saying, I said what I said. My sheep hear my voice. If he's not worried about those who ain't his sheep. He didn't do no extra thing. He didn't go through no explaining with them, the ones who didn't believe at that point. He didn't say, well, here, let me just break this down for you and help you to understand. He didn't even do that for them. He didn't say, okay, I'm going to make it plain for you. Here, if you turn to the book of Isaiah, chapter so-and-so and verse whatever, he didn't do that. He said, they aren't my sheep. My sheep hear my voice. I know them and they follow me. He said, I already told you. And you don't believe.
You know, that made me think of, like, you know how you get that voice inside of you to tell you, like, whether to do this is right or this is a wrong thing. And then the people who go too far down that path of doing the wrong thing, they just stop listening to it, it seems like. Because I feel like everybody got that. Nobody's that ignorant that not be like, this thing might not be right. You know, certain things where they go too far. And it's like people just shut it off. And I think that's like part of him being like, they hear my voice. Like, because you wouldn't go that far down this path if you weren't listening to that voice inside you. You know? It just made me think of that.
Yeah. And when we keep on going, it's like he didn't make it easier for them to accept who he already said that he was.
That's interesting.
He didn't make it easier. He didn't make it more palatable for them. He made it harder for them to accept what he already said.
Yep.
He doubled down on what he already said. And when we look at verse 29 and 30.
My Father who has given them to me is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and my Father are one.
if he's saying that I and my Father are one, he's saying that my Father, he's greater than all, but me and my Father are one.
I'm greater too.
He put himself up there too.
I'm greater too.
Nobody able to snatch him out of my Father's hand, but me and my Father are one. He didn't say it, but he's in the implication. Me and my Father are one. You can't snatch him out of his hand, but we're one, so you can't snatch him out of mine.
But he already said that.
He said my hand in 28.
He said my hand.
There's two hands then.
And then he said my Father's hand in 29. And then he said I and my Father are one. So it's one hand.
But he's saying two hands, but it's one hand because they're one. And so I'm saying that he's making it more difficult for the ones who already got problems. He's not making it easier. He's making it more difficult for them. This is what they try to kill him at. He said that, and then you done now. We got you. This is what we was waiting on. This is where they try to kill him.
They did. I guess they did have their sentence there probably.
Yeah.
I said they had their daggers.
Yeah, because they kind of indoors, like it's a covered situation, right? It's probably I don't know what the ground is like if they had flooring in there, but it's a covered situation where there's seating and places where they can, this is what gatherings and things happen here. So I'm saying that they was ready already. They got their stones in their satchels, and they ready to stone as soon as something bad happens. And so what he says here is too much for them to bear. The ones who don't believe already. And then they try to kill him.
It's like he had an insult to injury.
Yeah.
You don't hear me.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was
And so it's not like he's not trying to smooth nothing over. He's not trying to break it down in any type of way and say, well, maybe you didn't understand what I said before. Let me just help you to get it. He don't do that. He talks the same way he been talking. But this way, I mean, if anything that's clear that's being said is the offense, the offense that they receive from the words that he say, he made that clearer. Like he made it harder. He made it harder for them to be able to accept anything that he would have had to say based on the things that he said. And so, again, look at 31 through 33 there.
Again, the Yehudim picked up stones to stone him. Yeshua answered them, "Many good works I have shown you from my Father. Because of which of these works do you stone me?" The Yehudim answered, saying, "We do not stone you for good work, but for blasphemy, and because you, being a man, make yourself Elohim."
This is interesting, the way that they're behaving, because you can see the hardness of these people's hearts. Because of the fact that when we look at what he's done, and even again, we look back to Nicodemus, who's a Pharisee, he's a part of these people who try to do stuff to him. When somebody takes an honest look at the things that Yeshua presents, you get it. And so for him to say the thing that he says, which, I mean, I guess at face value, it could be controversial at face value. However, everything that he's previously done shows you that already. Everything that he's previously done shows you that he's one with Elohim. He's just vocalizing. He already caused somebody's heart that stopped beating to begin to beat again. He already caused somebody who was sick and no doctor and no medicine and no change of lifestyle was able to correct.
Change of lifestyle.
None of those things was able to correct.
Yes.
He was able to correct, not even on purpose, like just inadvertently, just by them touching him, fixed it. In one occasion, another occasion, he did fix it on purpose.
Spitting in some mud and put it on a
The
person.
list goes on and on. And so all of these things show you who he is. Where the natural course of things, it don't limit his reach. Now he just is vocalizing what already is. He's just vocalizing it. And so you can't accept it when you see it. All I'm doing is saying what that is. And now you want to kill me? Which of these things that I did are you trying to stone me for? And then what they say is ridiculous.
Well, it's not because of what you
None of those things. It's not because of that. It's because of the blasphemy. But the blasphemy is just a manifestation of the things. It's just a explanation of what that thing is. You see me raise the dead and heal the leper and cause the blindness to see and the dumb to speak. You've seen all of those things already. I'm just telling you what gives me the ability to do that. Because I'm he. That's why. So even here they're able to accept the thing that he did, but they're not able to accept the explanation of the thing that he did, which is it's illogical. It's nonsensical. Which I'm saying it just proves the hardness of their heart. It don't matter all of those things. They throw out those things away. And so I feel like Yeshua, when he says in 34 and 35, he's just playing semantical games with them at this point, because if they can't look at what he did and accept what that is, and then when he tells them what it is, and then they can't accept that, that's just it's just playing games. Read 34 and 35.
Yeshua answered them, is it not written?
And 36.
Okay. Is it not written in your own Torah? I said, you are Elohim. If he called them Elohim, to whom the word of Elohim came, and it is impossible for the scripture to be broken, do you say of him whom the Father set apart and sent into the world, you are blaspheming, because I said, I am the son of Elohim?
I'm saying that this is just, he's getting into semantical games because that's what they're doing. We think about Psalms and, it's talking about, mighty men, actual men. I'm referring to them as using the word Elohim. But they know the way that they talked about things at that time. If somebody was to say that they're the son of Elohim, that's talking about the Most High. But I feel like he's going along this path that they started with the fact that they're able to accept the things that he's doing, but not the description of what he's doing. And again, when we look at the way that he responds to this Yeshua, is, you know, he's not backing off of his claims because he doesn't have to, because he's proven, he's already proven himself based on the things that he has done. He says over in 34, if you not believe the works of my Father, don't believe in me. Don't believe me. If I do the works of my Father, don't believe me. But he does do the works of his Father. So you should actually believe me. Because what he says right there,
You mean 37?
read 38. Read 38 right there.
38. But if I do, though you do not believe me, believe the works, so that you know and believe that the Father is in me and I in him.
I think whenever he says that part right there, I think that you can't, that part can't be minimized. Somebody could say that the Father is in me. The things that I do, you know, I'm doing it on the strength of the Father. The Father is in me. And I believe in the Father, the Spirit. You know, he helps me, he motivates me, he strengthens me. It's one thing to say the Father's in me. But what do it mean to say that I in him, though? It's almost like he makes these two things interchangeable. Like somebody could say that the Father's in me, but what do it mean to say that I in him, though? I mean, to them,
He's equating. So he's equating.
it's, you know, they try to kill him because they understand the way they talk, the way they think about things, the things that he's saying is causing him to be Elohim.
Oh yeah.
The thing that he's saying over here is equating himself with Elohim. Now he says, you know, you can accept the word in Psalms. You could accept people calling themselves Elohim, but just not Elohim, the Elohim, right? But for him to say, though, you know, I and the Father are one. The Father is in me, and I am him. He knew what he was saying, and he said it anyway. And they knew what he said, and that's why they tried to grab him. And by the way, he miraculously escapes because he's surrounded in a place. They're not out in the open field somewhere. He's surrounded in a place by these hostile people who, from the beginning, want to do something bad to him. That's why they got all stones ready to go. They're not like out in the street somewhere where there's like rocks and they pick the rocks up. They're in a place prepared to do something to him. They have him surrounded. They cause this altercation and he meets all of their expectations. But their plans are foiled again, and he miraculously escapes, which I think just proves who he is. They say he went forth out of their hands. Did they grab? Did they have a hold of him? Did somebody hold him down while they tried to like grab him so they could bash him with rocks? They said, but he went forth out of their hand. He made it so that they was no longer able to physically assault him if they ever was. Miracle again. And so he continues this these things that he continues to do. He shows his works, he shows who he is physically, he describes who he is. And again, those who are able to believe in who he is, believe him. But there are those who will never believe. They'll never accept the plain things. They'll never look at the myriad of reasons why he is who he says that he is. They'll never accept those things. They'll never be able to accept truth, no matter how clear truth is, because they're not his sheep. The Most High has chosen his people from before they even were. And we see that all the way back to the Torah portion, where when Israel was able to tap in to the Spirit, he was able to say who the spiritual firstborn was, who the actual chosen was, not based on anything that anyone was able to physically see. And the same thing is true with each and every one of us who are his sheep, and who in the fullness of time looks like we become his sheep, but in all actuality, you never wasn't. You just step into your place. And so I think that, kind of just closing down, it's helpful for us to really think about, when we kind of just think about the place where we are. The Most High created our lives to be just so that we find out about certain things. And we get to a particular place in our lives. But when we think about things in this way, when we look at how Yeshua talks about his sheep and his security that he provides for his sheep, I think it's helpful for us to know that, we sit up here and we look at these things that we go through, these situations, these circumstances, and they look, it looks unsurmountable, these things, these problems, these issues that we have. I can't even hardly make it. But you can make it, though.
It's a fact.
You can actually make it. Because it's interesting that he talks about us as even being sheep, because sheep are not ones who fight their battles. The shepherd fights the battles. Mm-hmm. The sheep don't have to be strong and worry about protecting themselves. Mm-hmm. All they got to do is just trust in the shepherd.
Don't get lost.
And if you happen to get lost, he gonna look for you, though. And so what we have to do is not worry about these things. The sheep ain't worried about the wolf. They're worried about their shepherd's ability to protect them from the wolf. Mm-hmm. When the wolf come around, all they can do is just run behind the shepherd.
Yeah. Oh, there gotta be a video of sheep fighting, really. There gotta be that one
Somebody
sheep.
find it. Somebody find it.
There gotta be a sheep that's really about it.
Somebody found to put it in the chat. It's about the shepherd, though.
Yeah.
Like, we have to be able to trust in Yeshua and know that he's going to provide a way for us to move forward in every situation. And when we're able to trust in him, it causes us to be able to do things that we didn't never even think we was able to have done. But because he's there, because he's leading us and guiding us, and we're trusting in him, even when we can't even hardly understand all the things about him. Like he don't sit up here with these people and sit up here and try to prove anything about himself. He just lets it be known who he is. And expect for his sheep to just understand, and they got an understanding with one another.
Yeah, we was talking about this last night at Shabbat dinner. Just how you gotta go day by day. Tomorrow, you don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. So you know
what's over there.
You plan for the best, but whatever happens, however it look, you just get through the day. Do the best you can for the day. So
You can't worry about that because you don't even know what's over there.
right,
All you know is just what's right here, just
yup.
right now.
You can only do what's right now. Tomorrow ain't here.
From his own words,
Yeah.
his words.
Yep. So
So we just gotta continue to just trust in Yeshua, and trust in the path that he's taking us on. Trust in the fact that he said that he's going to hold us in his hand, and no thing can violently take us from his hand.
Yeah.
No thing out of his will can remove us from being inside of his hand. And so it's the ultimate level of protection that he provides for us in terms of our relationship with him. And he just wants for us to continue to trust in him and allow for him to lead us and guide us through all things. All right, so does anybody have any last thoughts, questions? Go ahead.
I would say that we talked about the deity of Messiah, and I believe that it's central to believing in Yeshua, because I can't believe in a person, a human being, as to being able to keep me in line with the Father. It's like now I got two. I don't have one. I got two hands. I don't have one hand. And that when I see people reject it, they a lot of times, from what I've seen, if it goes down long enough, they eventually reject the Son altogether. And it's a slippery slope
Yeah.
of unbelief. And I think that it's that they had a proper interpretation of what he said,
Yeah.
which is why they wanted to stone him. They said he claimed to be Elohim.
I think that's when we think about the idea of interpreting scripture, we can think about how we interpret this. But this is something that was written to someone else about things that happened in a particular time. And this right here specifically is about a people's reaction to something that was actually said. And so if we want to try to understand why it is that they reacted in that way, we have to go back and think about what they would have understood Yeshua to have been saying. Now, as wrong as they were in terms of how they responded in terms of trying to kill him, that was an issue. That was an issue, right? But the reason why they responded the way that they did is because the thing that he said, they interpreted what he said correctly. Their response was wrong, but the way that they interpreted it that's what he was trying to say. And so people do try to, try to take away that fact. And Yeshua said what he said. And, there's verses in the Bible that you got to erase and cross out whenever you try to take away the deity of Messiah, because he literally is saying it right here. And it ends up being the literal reason why he ends up being killed. And now, who am I now in these days and times to say he never said that? But meanwhile, the people over and over again, like when you look at the fullness of what happened, they did what they did because of how they interpreted what he said. That part wasn't wrong. Like, we need for him to die. And so the way in which he gets to that place of dying is saying things that people heard what he said and then responded to what he said. And in this case, is this equation, this equalness of him and the Father. That's literally why they tried to kill him. That's literally why they end up capturing him. That's literally why they sit up here and put him in the little mini trial and convicting him and killing him in the most vicious and terrible way. And so, people try to deny that, you're denying Yeshua's words in and of himself. And so, but the result of that just proves who you are. You're not his sheep. You did never hear his voice because he told you who he was. You're just not able to accept it. But his sheep hear his voice and they follow him. And so it's just another example of those who have that hard heart, who are unable to accept the things that Yeshua has said and has done. And it just proves who, at the end of the day, you prove who you are by how you respond to Yeshua. Mm-hmm. If you respond in a way that's inviting of Yeshua and accepting of what he says, you prove that you're the sheep. If you deny what he's done and what he said about these things, then you prove that you're not a sheep. Simple as that.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be having a feast, and this is the stuff for.
Yeah,
You could just see their heart.
Yeah, their heart is just wicked.
That's the point.
They're supposed to be having a good time, enjoying themselves and partying, but they go into the situation with hostility, and it just shows the hardness of their
This is why he
hearts.
says he hates their Sabbaths, and people try to use that against us. But he's like, no, he hated their Sabbath because of what they did, not his Sabbath, theirs.
Yes, because their very heart is wicked. For us even to have this exchange of events shows their heart, because they come into the whole situation ready for battle. Mm-hmm. They never wanted to have a good time.
Right.
They planned the whole thing out from the beginning. We're going to get him in here. We're going to surround him. We're going to ask him these questions, and we're going to make him say what we want him to say so we can kill him. Like, you had to have this whole thing planned out, which just proves your heart.
They had stones, but he was throwing daggers.
He was swinging a sword,
Yeah.
right? That was sharp on both sides.
Right. Yep.
Okay. All right. So, I guess we'll be done for now, y'all. We'll be back on next Shabbat to talk more about all of the things that Yeshua has said and done, and we'll also, of course, look at the Torah portion. But for now, we'll say Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.